Good afternoon. Welcome. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and I welcome you today to the Breaking Free Show. I'm so happy you're here. As always, and I know your time is precious, your moments are precious, your days are precious, and I am so grateful. Thank you for spending it with us. So before we get on with our show, I just want to welcome Amnon. How you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm good, 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 good. So Amnon is our producer, and he's over there playing with the buttons. I don't know what he's doing. So thank goodness for Amnon because he gets to do what he does, and then I get to do what I do, and all is merry and happy in the world, right?
Right.
So everything's good.
Everything's good.
Good weekend.
Great weekend.
Great weekend. Good. Well, let's after this show, maybe it'll make it even better.
Well, maybe.
I hope you all had a great weekend too. I did. And I just want to remind everyone if you're tuning in for the first time or you're tuning in for the 100th, 200th time, you are more than welcome anytime during the show to call in to our studio if you have a comment, a question, anything you want to express. 919-518-9773, or you can come in on Skype at computers, that's plural, the number 2, K Voice, anytime during the show. And also, we have a chat, a live chat going on. You are more than welcome to take part in and communicate with the other people in there. So just put your name on the line, nickname, whatever, and join the chat. We'd love to have you in there as well. If you do call and we don't get to you, we don't answer you right away, just hold on because sometimes we might be in the middle of something and can't get to you yet. But I promise we will. So welcome everybody that's in the chat. Welcome everybody that's out there. And if you're listening to us for the first time or whatever on YouTube or wherever you're finding us and you've not been to a live show before, please find us on Mondays at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Each and every Monday we're live. And if you are on YouTube, please feel free to comment and I will reply certainly. So today I'm really excited about this conversation. Oh, we have somebody on the phone already. Hello? Hello, somebody there? Somebody there? Okay. If you're there, say hi. Okay. All right. Maybe you need to call back. Anyway, I'm really excited about this topic. I love talking about leadership. I love talking about listening. And when you can combine the two, wow. And I really truly believe that the more we all access our leadership skills, qualities, insights, the better the world is going to be, because when you are truly a leader, you are not hopefully coming from your ego. How could you be if you're a leader? So you shouldn't be. So anyway, I want to welcome this lovely lady who I've met recently. She's a doll. She's got lots of great things to share. She's wonderful. Susan King, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Marilyn. I'm happy to be here.
It's so good to have you. So Susan, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was raised in Ohio, fifth of 6 kids, and moved to North Carolina quite some time ago. Had a corporate career for a little over 30 years, mostly in information technology and also in human resources. And about 15 years ago, found an article online about a coach that had been on Oprah. And it caught my attention, and I went, wow, that's what I wanted to do when I step out of corporate. And about 4 years ago, the company that I worked with offered an early retirement package that I qualified for. I raised my hand, and I'm now living my dream.
So you have become a
career and life coach.
Okay. And so just a little bit about what that means.
I help people to figure out what's important to them, clarify goals, and then help them to come up with strategies to bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be.
Okay, great. So now your focus is on energy leadership.
Energy leadership is a big part of that.
Okay.
And energy leadership is we're all leaders. What leadership is inspiring and motivating ourselves and others to take action. So we lead our lives. Energy leadership is about how do we invest our energy in order to achieve the results that we want to achieve.
So in your words, first, can you define what you mean by energy?
What I mean by energy is it's your attitude, how you show up. Is it moving you forward, or is it holding you back?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I would add just I would say that when you walk into a concert hall, it's what you feel. It's something that you it's not something tangible, but it's what you feel when you walk into hear your greatest band ever. Or maybe you're at some football game and somebody does something and everybody stands up. It's that energy that you feel. Or maybe you walk into some place and automatically you feel something uncomfortable, something kind of zaps your energy, something that sucks your energy. That's what we're going to be talking about, is that thing that is something that you sense, you feel, you have an inkling about, but maybe you don't know what to do about it, how to get more of it, or what it even means. So Susan is great at going into this. So now, Susan, as you talk about energy and leadership, how do you combine the two? What is that one thing that it means?
How you combine the two?
Yeah,
Well,
like what is energy leadership?
energy leadership is it's a framework for helping you to determine how you show up or what your attitude is, and giving you options and skills and tools to be able to choose how you want to show up versus just react. So you
Okay.
respond versus reacting.
So it's how you want to use your energy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, Ged, start us off. How would you start off?
Um, the first thing, there's actually an energy leadership index assessment that helps people to understand what their default tendencies are, both under normal circumstances and also under stress. Can you hold on one second?
Yeah,
I'm very sorry.
yeah. Oh, I think we have a dog. Is that what we have? Okay, so let me. This is one of my favorite topics as well. So while she is taking care of her dog, let's
We're
talk
good.
about. Okay, you're back.
I am so sorry. I just
Perfect.
needed
No,
to
no.
close
Go
the
ahead.
door.
Go
My
ahead.
dog talks when the phone rings. My dog talks to whoever's on it.
Well, your dog has good energy.
She Yes, she does. But the assessment helps people to kind of recognize what their default tendencies are. A lot of times we all just kind of walk through life in as zombies. We kind of respond to whatever's going on around us. What the assessment and then talking about it and coaching around energy allows us to do is, number one, become aware of what triggers us and what our default tendencies might be, again, under normal circumstances and under stress, and then also provides different options for how we might want to respond in different situations. There's actually 7 levels of energy defined,
Okay.
going from level 1, none is good or bad. We all have every single one of them at any given time, and may stay at any level for a minute, an hour, weeks, months, years. um, Level 1 is victim, where we feel like we're at the effect of what's around us. Level 2 is conflict. So we try to take action, but it may not necessarily be the most productive action. And then moving our way all the way up to levels 5, 6, and 7, where we we look at everything as an opportunity. We shoot for win-win, and even beyond that, level 7 is more kind of everything happens for a reason. Everything is good regardless of what happens. So it gives us the opportunity to look at situations in our own personal lives from different perspectives, and then choose how we want to approach those situations.
So let's start with the first one, victim. What
Okay.
does what is the energy of a leader look like in victim?
In victim, you would feel as though everything always happens to you. You have absolutely no control or no influence about what's going on. You might be apathetic, lethargic, just don't even feel like taking action at all, because it doesn't matter. If you're thinking that you're at the effect of everything that happens around you, why take action? Because it's not going to matter anyway.
So are there so I have a kind of a concept of leadership
Okay.
where I probably believe leadership is in the fifth, sixth, seventh, maybe four. I don't know what four. What is four?
Four is service.
Okay, so to me, a leader can only I can own the word leader and be in a leadership role is if they are doing service, they recognize the opportunities, they're empowering, they're not in their ego. They it's win-win for everybody. It's not if I win, it's not from scarcity, it's from abundance. That's how I would see a leader. For me, a leader in victim wouldn't exist.
There, there are leader. Every one of us has every single one of these levels at any given time.
Okay, so it's how we
It's
choose.
how we approach
Okay,
situations. And
perfect.
and the assessment actually shows like percentages of, your default tendency is, 15% of the time you kind of operate at this level.
Gotcha.
25% you operate at this level. But every single one of us will go to any one of those levels at any time. The question is, how long do you stay there?
Yes.
And have you chosen to go there, or did you just react
Got you.
because that's what you do?
Exactly. So everybody has all of this. So
That's
how
correct.
so how you listen for where you are in any given moment will tell you whether or not you are coming from the victim or you're in conflict or you're coming from wherever you're coming from, and to be aware of this energy so that you can shift the energy with whatever tools, whatever you have, into a higher level of energy, higher, deeper
Exactly.
level, or okay,
Exactly.
okay,
And something else, Marilyn, that's interesting is that, once you've actually mastered this, there may be situations where you want to shift into lower levels of energy because that is how you're going to get results. So if you're dealing with a situation and you're dealing with another person and you recognize that they're operating from a lower level of energy, you may want to kind of shift down a little bit so that you can at least hit some
right,
common ground
right, right,
and then try to shift both of you back
right.
up.
Because you can't communicate if somebody is at a lower level of energy and you're up here. It's very hard to and I mean, I don't know if you. I don't think you necessarily want to, become a victim, but you certainly need to be aware of where you are so that you can. I don't know if it's shifting your energy or it's recognizing where they are, so
I
that
think it's
right.
a little bit of both. That
Okay.
in order to recognize where they are, you almost have to kind of go there. It doesn't mean you stay there, but you want to understand from their
Hmm.
perspective so that you can then communicate
Sure.
effectively.
Sure. Did you ever read the book Power versus Force?
I have not.
Okay. Do you know what it is?
I do not.
It's okay. Well, it's about how we communicate. They use logarithms or different things. Anyway, you can't use. In other words, if you take somebody who's in let's say in the worst neighborhoods wherever it is, and you try to communicate using your higher level of education to somebody who's in the worst level of wherever it is, slums, whatever it is, and does not use the same words, okay, doesn't have the same vocabulary. Somebody from higher level can and uses big words cannot communicate with the same big words to this level as they would to another level. So you'd want to maybe tone down your words, to be able to have this other level of, intelligence understand you. So it's that kind of thing.
It
It's
sounds it
yeah,
sounds very similar.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Very
yeah.
yeah. It's
Kind
a
of like
yeah.
meeting people where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Exactly. And it's not
right,
demeaning, it's not putting yourself down, but it is recognizing experience and where people how people feel. I mean, if you're feeling great and you're around somebody who doesn't feel great at all, and you just might tone it down a little. But first you have to be
right,
aware, like Susan says, of where you are.
right. So you recognize and acknowledge where they are,
Exactly.
so that you can then pave the way and kind of part the waters to have an effective communication.
So what is possible? We can go through some of these different levels because I think it's very interesting. But what is possible for an individual who has gone through these levels of awareness? What is possible for them in doing this work? At is do they shift less? Can they shift more often? What's possible?
I think over time, it's kind of, and I've explained this to clients before. They say, well, how do I shift? And number one, becoming aware is number one. So if you are, that's the most important thing. If you're aware of what your triggers are and what your default tendencies are, then you can, consciously make a decision. The next thing is really knowing what other options you have, right? So recognizing, possibly using the 7 levels of energy, as a model. Then practice. Take personal situations, and I work with clients all the time and say, okay, so let's pick a situation, either past, present, or future, where you feel like you have kind of gone there, somewhere you have not approached it, or you're nervous about the situation and not really comfortable that you will approach it in a very positive way. And let's walk through the 7 levels of energy. If you were coming at this from a victim, what might your response look like? If you were coming at this from level 2 or conflict, what might this look like?
Well, let me ask you a question. So based on your knowledge, what does a victim in energy look like? What's the conversation that a victim energy would look like?
I think common would be, whining. Someone who whines about stuff all the time.
Yeah.
This is always happening, or why do they always do this? Or
they never listen. Okay, as a leader, they never listen to me.
Or don't take responsibility.
Right, or they're not taking responsibility. Right.
Or for taking action to remedy the situation.
Okay. So,
they don't necessarily, there's a difference between complaining and offering solutions, recognizing that something could be better and offering solutions.
That would be victim.
Victim is the complaining.
Okay. So victim leader is a complaining leader, is somebody who's in a managerial role and they complain about the manager above them.
Marilyn, one thing I want to distinguish is that we're all leaders, and it's not you may be in a leading position, and if you are, whether you're an individual contributor, it's a personal situation, or you are in a leadership role, victim has the same kinds of attributes and characteristics. It's just, you feel like no matter what you do, you are not impacting. You're not, it's not your fault. Whatever's going on, it's not because of you. It's because of something else.
So let me ask you a question. So then how come, then why do we use the word leader in there? I mean, if it's assumed that everybody is a leader, which I believe absolutely, you're 100% right, then why, go ahead. Why not just talk about energy?
Because I think it is about inspiring and motivating yourself and others. And leaders inspire and motivate.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So the twist here is that, taking accountability for yourself. And one of the things that I find is so powerful and empowering about this is that when you approach things from a more positive perspective, there's a ripple effect. And I wonder how many, if you or other people have examples of where, you've said to yourself, I'm going to approach this a little bit differently, or I'm going to handle this call. I'm going to call about an order that came in wrong. And I'm going to handle this a little bit differently, and see how the person at the other end or the people at the other end react differently than if you were to approach it from, one of the lower levels.
Well, I think that's a wonderful point, and I welcome anybody out in the audience to, call in and share your ripple. I think that's and this is part of the practice. I mean, you can listen to us all day long. You can listen to Susan, you listen to me, you can read a book, but really and truly having that practice and putting it in and being able to, in that moment, feel what it feels like to shift, feel what it feels like to think about a shift, to being aware, oh, I have an option here. So by all means, please feel free to call in 919-518-9773 or Skype in with us on computers, that's plural, 2K Voice. And certainly ask any questions you like in the chat. If you're not in there yet, just put your name next to the video and just go in there. There's several people in there, and they must be listening hard because everybody said hello, but there's no questions. So come on, let me hear from you. So that ripple thing is so interesting, isn't it? Because like if I'll have to think, if I'm going to say something to somebody, how is that going to affect them? What are they going to do with what I say? So you want to be very careful in, who you bring into that victim kind of conversation carefully. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you spread victim.
Mm-hmm. And Marilyn, maybe this is a good time to talk about what the other levels are. And I guess one other thing that is important too is we're all made up of energy. We're all 100% energy, and at any given time, we could be at any one of the levels. And the time that you are spending in lower levels, there's an opportunity cost because you're not spending time in upper levels.
Right.
And then there's the concept of catabolic energy versus anabolic energy. Catabolic is it holds you back, it drains you, it is non-productive, it can be negative, where anabolic is productive and moves you forward and it helps you to attain results. Levels 1 and level 2 are catabolic. Level 1 being victim, level 2 being conflict, and then levels 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all varying degrees of anabolic, which is positive and uplifting and productive. And level 3, which we haven't talked about yet, mm-hmm. is responsibility. And this is where you start to take responsibility for your actions. You still may take things a little bit personally, mm-hmm. so you're not at higher levels quite yet. You might rationalize in order to cope. So something happened and you go, oh, well, they didn't really mean that, right? And it's a means of not going into lower levels, not feeling bad, not, taking a negative approach, but just kind of figuring out a way that you can continue to move forward. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
So level 4 then is service, and it's anabolic. It is, nurturing, loving, helping. One of the things at level 4, though, is that you may be doing it to the detriment of yourself. So, have you ever been in a situation where you feel like you have given and given and given, and it's starting to feel like an obligation, and it's no longer a win-win?
Yeah, I mean, I think they call that compassion, sometimes compassion fatigue, or giving fatigue. When that really and truly at that point, it's not about the service. It's really
right.
at that a point when you're overserved. It's really not about giving. It's about
exactly. You've kind of crossed the line.
Yeah.
And that's and then so level 5. Then level 5 is where we. That's where leaders are just very creative. Everything's an opportunity. You look for a win-win. Very, very effective leaders operate more often at level 5 than at others.
And can I interrupt you a second? I think that's
sure.
what makes why so many. And I know you say everybody has leadership, and I agree with you. But when you are in a business of some sort, and this is kudos for coaches, Susan, in case in point, myself as well. But that when you are in a position of leadership, that you do have someone in your life that helps you, move through some of these things, because it's very easy in the world to slip into victim. You can be very strong and a great leader, but, something happens and what gets where. And so it's a lot. And so it's very important to have somebody that you can talk to, that you can bounce things off of, that you can, check in with and go, well, what do you think of this? How do you think of this? Those kinds of things is really important to stay there. Many top executives, top leaders have somebody in their life, particularly a coach, that they have for a very long time because it's important. So just keep that in mind wherever you are in your world. It's a great thing to have somebody who you feel that you trust, who can say, you know what, you're playing victim, or you're in victim, or you're being this, you seem to be coming off like this, that you trust, so that you can listen.
Mm-hmm. Or Marilyn, even someone just to ask you some questions to help you see things a little bit different, like
Absolutely.
yourself, right?
Yeah.
Very similar to what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to. There is a question out here that I want to give you, ask you, but also I just want to mention that there is somebody out in the chat, Cher. I don't know if you know this person, CHER, but hello. And I don't know if it's a he or she, but they say they don't have any questions, but they're listening and enjoying the conversation.
Oh, wonderful.
And then Chris wants to know how, let's see, once you recognize that you need to do a shift, how exactly do you do
it? The recognition, again, is the most important thing. And then the next thing is if you understand what your options are. So in talking about the different levels, you can again take a situation and say, okay, if I understand that level 5 is win-win, and it is acceptance of everybody's doing the best that they can, then how would I approach this? So again, recognizing what level you are at or you're coming from, and then understanding what the options are. So I do have an example. Long before I knew anything about energy leadership, and I moved to North Carolina, and I still had furniture from college, and thought, okay, I'm making this move. I'm not taking anything with me that I don't love. So when I moved down here, I made a few purchases, and none of them went very smoothly. So for a period, like an entire summer, I ordered a sectional couch, and pieces were not the same color, and something was hanging, and the pricing was wrong on the tables, and so on and so forth. So I remember sitting at work, knowing I needed to make a phone call about this couch, and I took a deep breath, and I said, okay, if I were on the other end of this phone call, how would someone have to approach it in order for me to want to really, really help them? And so that's an example of how you might shift your energy. Is, I was tired, I was frustrated, it was dragging out, and I took a minute and said, okay, it's not their fault, what do I need to do? How can I approach this in a way that we both win?
That's a great example. And I think you said earlier, to being aware of your triggers, we do know the things that ahead of time that are going to be triggers for us. And doesn't mean we don't go there. It just means we go there with the awareness that we can shift our energy. And we don't have to fall victim or into any other low energy level. We can look at the bright side of something. We can, see how somebody else is showing up, where they might come from, what their needs might have been, how bad it was for them. It's not making excuses, but it does, intellectually, energetically help you shift.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Again,
I was going to say, one other thing I think that's kind of key is not taking things personally.
Yeah.
Is when someone does something or says something or whatever, what they're doing and saying is based on their whole life.
Right.
Our thoughts drive our feelings, drive our behaviors. And our thoughts are made up of what we've learned and how we've seen things our entire life. So that's the same thing for those people around us. So when someone says something or does something, understanding that they're doing what they think is the right thing from their perspective at this minute, and it's not necessarily addressed. It's not personal to us. Those kinds of thoughts and approaches also help us to shift our energy as well.
Hmm. Exactly. Experience. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's having those ripples
Mm-hmm.
that are your best teachers.
Right.
And I really think that it is important to for forgiveness to be able to, because you're going to go up and down these seven areas like nobody's business anyway, because we're
Mm-hmm.
human and we're going to go up and down anyway. So it's recognizing it and forgiving, oh, and the awareness. If you don't forgive yourself for being in the victim, it's going to be hard to catch it. But the more you recognize your victim, the easier it will be to notice it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And the easier it will be to shift as well. So you had asked earlier, um, and I think that the caller had asked too. How do you shift? And it's, again, you become aware, know what your options are, and it's like anything else new that you're learning, a sport or to cook or job or whatever. The more you practice, the better you get. And at
Exactly.
some point, it can even become second nature. At first you may still go there, but
Right.
maybe instead of going for a day, you kind of wake up after a couple hours and go, wait, I don't want to do this. And then the next time something similar happens, maybe, you shift sooner. And maybe the next time something happens, over time, maybe you don't even go there at all, or you go there so quickly and shift out that it you might as well have just gone to a different level and approach things from a different perspective.
So so my next question is: when you get into 4, 5, 6, 7, is it when you've been playing with this long enough and you've been in practice of this long enough? I don't know what long enough is, but quite some time.
Mhm.
Are you in it? Have they all become one? I mean, because to me, service, opportunity, win-win, everything is good, would seem almost, happening simultaneously. If
They
you're, yeah.
certainly they certainly can be. Um, you could, and again, you can shift in and out in a second, right? So it can seem as though it's occurring all at once. Um, but over time, I think you become better at mastering, where you want to be and how long you stay there,
Hmm.
right? So instead of, another way to look at these levels of energy, like level one is I lose. Okay. Level two is conflict and you lose.
Hmm.
Level three is responsibility and forgiveness and cooperation. And it's I win and I love this one. This makes me laugh. I win and I hope you win too, but it's not a requirement.
Hmm.
Meaning I'm going to win and I hope you do, but that's not necessarily part of the plan. Um, Level four is you win and I may lose. That's where the service and sometimes to the detriment of, what you need personally. Level five is win-win. Level six is everybody wins, right? It's synergy. Everything happens for a reason. Um, 1 + 1 = 3. Everybody working together can produce more than any one of us individually. And then level seven is there is no winning or losing. It's all an illusion.
Okay, so let's go there.
Yep.
Excuse me, to it's all an illusion. So
Okay.
before we go to the illusion,
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to invite anybody out there to call in. There's all kinds of people talking on the chat now, so thank you very much. Love to hear where people are coming from and what they do, because that's important. Call us at 919-518-9773 or Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And if you haven't joined the chat, there's some really lovely people in there. You might want to. Um, so, so it's all an illusion. Let's go there.
Okay.
Talk. So, define for us what that means.
That they're really that everything. This is where kind of everything does happen for a reason. That we're all connected. It's kind of depending on the person. It could be, think about what triggers you to be fearless and be passionate and non-judgmental, mental, and your creativity is at its ultimate. For some people that may be nature, it may be faith, it may be just one with the universe. It depends on the individual. But where everything is, it's all good. I have a cousin who that's the comment that they make. It's all good. It's kind of, that's what level 7 is. It's all good.
No attachment.
Total passion.
No attachments.
No, exactly.
No attachments.
No attachments. Marilyn, that's an excellent point in that it's not about the outcome, it's about the journey.
So that's what trust is. Mm-hmm. Surrender. All of those things.
Exactly.
Competition, no competition there.
Exactly. Just enjoying the journey.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So these types of lessons are wonderful for every one of us, including our children. These are really important strategies to support our children with, because the more our children can access that leadership, build upon it, then the better our future will be. But and they are present, right? The better they'll do in school, the better they'll be with their siblings and everything else under the sun. So it's all very important. So again, I see that the phone number is out on the chat, 919-518-9773, or Computers 2K Voice, because you can tell Susan is waiting for you to call. She has an answer, I betcha, or at least another question for pretty much anything for almost anything you can call in with and question. So let's do that. So I see that there's several people on the chat that have been or are in coaching practices. People who want to coach. Coaching is a wonderful opportunity. Susan, how's coaching for you?
I absolutely love it. I feel as though it's what I was meant to do, and I am thrilled. I am having chills even talking about it. I am thrilled to be able to help people to kind of calm down and focus on what's important to them and really start moving in the direction that they want to today. How often we talk about, well, someday when this is done, why not today?
Exactly. But yeah, why not today? Why not right this minute?
Exactly.
And, the title of our show is Breaking Free. So, which this is a wonderful scenario, I would say. Definition for breaking free is being able to go from victim through your conflicts, and not that the conflict, and I want to talk about that too, because conflict, it's all in how you look at it and how you use conflict, how you abuse it or how you use it. Because conflict could be, okay, we have a difference of opinion. We're in conflict. It doesn't mean we kill each other. So what's your thought about conflict?
I agree that you can disagree, right? And that's perfectly fine. And conflict, I think, is when, in this respect, is more when it's I have to be right and I am right and you are wrong, and not being open to understanding another person's perspective or talking through it.
So that's interesting. So there is an energy of conflict that's low energy, but then there can be an energy of conflict that's higher energy.
I think it depends on how you define the word conflict.
Okay.
So you certainly at any one of these levels could have a different perspective than someone else. But that doesn't necessarily mean that their perspective is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what makes your perspective right and theirs wrong? Your history and how you're seeing things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you need to move forward, you know, you may need to kind of work through things and come to some agreements in order to figure out how to move forward. Hopefully you'll do that from a win-win perspective and not a just, we're going to do it my way.
We have a question out here from Caitlin. So I want to get to you in a second. But I'm curious about, so when you're going from one level to another,
Mm-hmm.
and so we have all this in us, right? So I don't know. So we have victim, we have win-win, we have all of this in us already. We're just drawing upon these dynamics, these characteristics, these energies that are already in us. So as you, so you already know what these are like. Would you say? Because we're all whole, so we have all these in us, but we just tend to focus based on our experience in one more than the others. And as we work with one, as we take ourselves through these levels, we are just drawing upon what we already have. So we already have win-win in us. Would you say that?
I would go so far as to say that everybody has access to every one of these levels.
Okay.
Based on, and it's an attitudinal survey or assessment. So this is your attitude. So it can be changed. Someone who takes the assessment, you know, at one point and works on this later on when they take the assessment, the numbers could actually change. It's different than personality. And yes, to your point, every one of us has access to every one of those levels of energy. Based on our history and what we've lived and how we have approached life, how we see things, our default tendencies are can be, you know, a certain percentage of the time we show up at a level 4. Another certain percentage of the time, you know, we may show up at a level 3. That can happen in a split second. During this conversation, either one of us, Marilyn, could have gone up and down the leadership
Sure.
levels.
Yeah, like yo-yos.
Exactly. Exactly.
Definitely. Right.
And so,
right.
you know, the beauty is in being aware and making a choice
Right.
in ways that get the results that you want in your life.
Right. So
and then again, having a ripple effect on everybody around you as
Right.
well.
So if you're at, let's say, level 3, responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So then if you know that you're, you know, so what, and you don't have much service in your life, but you want more service because, you know, you're not, then you bring in more service. That's part of it, going through the levels. Is that right, Susan, or not?
I think it's more about how you deal with situations and relationships, because you're not stuck somewhere. You, in this phone call, and even that question you just asked me, I'm approaching this from a certain level. Okay, or I might approach a relationship with someone from a certain level. You know, every time I meet with that person, it makes me angry or whatever. But that doesn't mean I'm a level 3 or I'm a level 4. That just means for that particular situation or a certain percentage of the time, that happens to be the way that I view or approach things. Now, once I become more aware and I know that this is by default, you know, it's like a knee-jerk reaction. Once I am aware that, gosh, I kind of do come at things from a level 3 pretty often, and I'd really rather come at things from a, 4, 5, and 6. So I become aware, and then I start consciously thinking about, okay, I'm about to go into a phone call with that person who, triggers that reaction in me. If I want this relationship and this particular phone call to be more anabolic, more, 4, 5, or 6, what would that look like? And actually practice how I might approach it a little bit differently. Not take things so personally. Ask questions to get to their perspective. Figure out how we could make that particular situation or our relationship more of a win-win. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, perfectly. In order to get out of victim or to get away from the lower level of conflict, you have to think bigger than just yourself. You got to be able to connect.
Yeah, it's more based on triggers. There's certain things that trigger a level 1, or certain things may trigger a level 2.
Right.
But I've had clients where they have been perfectly satisfied with what's going on in their personal life, but some of the catabolic levels appear in their work life. So, what's the difference there? There's some sort of a trigger. They have a different thought about what's going on at work than they do with their relationships and a personal perspective.
Right.
And that thought, again, our thoughts drive our feelings, drive our behaviors. That thought may be, I'm not good enough, or if I do this, then I'm not going to get what I need, or whatever, something that is causing them to protect themselves from, embarrassment, any number of things.
Yeah, I would say, I agree with you on a lot of that. I think I remember when years and years and years and years ago, I would say, God, I wish I could do in my personal life what I could accomplish in my corporate life. Because my corporate life seemed so right dead on. And my personal life seemed like such a mess, And then I had to get into my personal life in order for it to, for me to find my balance. And I hear what you're saying about that our thoughts control what drive us. And I do think they drive us until we access our energy, the higher level of energy. Because when you access the higher levels of energy, you've got to be coming from a different place than your thoughts. Because your thoughts cannot understand energy. So you've got to be shifting more into, a different place than where your thoughts are coming from. But let me ask you this. So let's see. Oops, it just moved so fast I can't find it. Okay. Caitlin is asking you, Susan, can you talk about how you use this model in your coaching your clients?
Sure. Yeah, I can. It's funny because I don't lead with this. Clients will come to me. They may want to work through something, personal that might be professional. And usually when I meet with a client to talk about what their expectations are around coaching, and it may not be in that first meeting, it may be later, they might say something about their behaviors, something irritates them, or if it seems as though they're not necessarily taking responsibility, or this is what happened to me at work, right? Those kinds of things. Then I might explain to them about energy leadership and ask them if they want to take the assessment and talk about what that might do for them. And what we'll do is they'll take the assessment, we'll do a debrief, and then through the rest of the coaching, we can use specific examples. Someone will come to me and they're having difficulty with their boss. Okay, so let's talk about a situation. What happened, and then what did that mean to you? And then let's look at this from the 7 levels of energy, and what could that have meant? You're looking at it from your perspective. What's another way to look at it? And bit by bit, it really helps people to, not just with that situation, but with other situations, kind of open up their perspective a little bit and think, okay, is what I'm seeing real? or is it just my interpretation based on my history and how I've reacted in the past? It's really quite liberating.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love the whole your whole way of, because I think a lot of having this structure is, it speaks to the part of us that needs the structure, which opens up to the somewhat of the unstructured. So, but our structured part needs to have these containers so that it feels safe. You know, our ego, in understanding the structure, it helps it to feel safe so that you can then begin to really delve into and explore perspectives and the energy. Excuse me. So I think it's a really great method. Um, you said something. So another thing that you said, Susan, which I think is so good, is it's you have you're doing something a certain way, and but here's another way. I don't know how you just said it. I can't say it exactly the way you did, but you said it.
What
Yeah,
might be another way to look at that?
yeah, which was great because it's not putting anybody on the defensive,
Hmm.
and because when we're all, that's the problem. That's one of, I won't say the problem, but it's an issue, is that we tend to think we're broken. We're not broken. We are not broken, are we, Susan?
No, we're not.
So you talk about that. Can talk about what we are, or what we're not.
Well, I mean, I think that's another thing that for me, even going through the first time that I learned about energy leadership and going through the certification process, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're normal. We're all normal. Just understanding that each of us is normal right there is liberating, right? That the thoughts and feelings and behaviors that each of us has is exactly the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that anybody who lived our lives and saw things the way we see things would have. So, no, we're not at all broken.
No.
It's just a matter of waking up, right? And making choices based on today and forward, as opposed to just doing things because we've always done them.
So do you? So I have my own feeling about this, but I'm asking: is it necessary for people to be to have go to be going through victim conflict, responsibility, to be able to go through that in order to have this kind of life that we want to have? Is it important for people to have gone through victim?
I think that we need to acknowledge and experience our feelings, and but we don't need to stay there.
Right. That's the difference.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And Marilyn, I'll share with you that again, as I was going through the process to become an Energy Leadership Index Master Practitioner, um, we one of the things, I had an aha moment myself. What I recognized is that I would avoid going to level 1 and level 2 at all costs. And so I jumped right over to 3. And what I recognized is that you have to at least allow yourself to experience those feelings so that they can then go away. Otherwise they kind of get stuffed down in you.
Right.
And that was a pretty interesting realization for me.
That's why we say we're not broken, because in order to grow, you have to be growing from something. In order to be free, you have to be freeing from something.
Mm-hmm.
In order to, everything is good. Well, everything, has to be good. To surrender, to have gone through these things, to know what, where you've come from. It's important. And so we're not broken. We're meant to go through these things. We're just maybe not meant to stay there forever.
Yeah, and
That's
learn.
the point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just learn from them.
Yeah.
Learn from whatever you've gone through. What is that saying? One of my favorite sayings is it's not what life gives you, but how you handle it.
Yeah, and I think it's also a way for us to be sensitive to other people, to be able to recognize. That's what a leader, that's the leadership part, is to be able to recognize, to see the beauty in you, that I've seen in myself, and to be able to see that in you. And we have somebody on the phone. Hello.
Hi, Susan. This is Caitlin. Thank you so much for sharing your model and this energy leadership with the group. And I'm actually an iTech graduate as well, so this is such a refreshing way to spend the day. So thank you. And I love what you just said about, when you first took the profile, how you kind of avoided the two, catabolic energies, the 1 and 2. And, I was the same way, and I just kind of wanted to share that um, the core emotions the core thoughts of like victim and conflict, going down into those is great place for learnings. And I think this is an awesome model for us to use as coaches when we have a client that we're noticing has a lot of, getting stuck in those energies. There may be an opportunity for us to acknowledge that this is something to work in conjunction with a therapist. And for myself, I took the index and noticed the level 1 energy of victim, and actually worked through a lot of sexual abuse experiences that I had when I was younger and was not acknowledging. And I, like you, was just like, nope, go right to energy, level 3, forgiveness, I'm good. And when we spend time really working and processing through those emotions, or processing through the conflict that may have happened in our past, whether it be abused or, the death of a loved one, or something like that, when we allow ourselves to go back there, and from a coaching perspective, we can say, like, this is a great place for you to be, and what I'm going to do is refer you to a therapist to work on the past, and then I, as your coach, am going to then take responsibility for mirroring you to move forward with these energies.
Wow, Caitlin, thank you for sharing that very much.
Yeah.
And I think you make an excellent point that if someone is truly stuck in level 1 and level 2, and just really has some, I would say, some past things maybe, and you tell me if you agree, if there's some things that are past that they're not able to let go of, that might definitely point towards getting some help from a therapist.
Yeah, if you're getting triggered numerous times and by the same thing, and I love the word trigger as well, because it takes the client from becoming aware that you're like, oh, this is the trigger, instead of this is me. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you, Caitlin. Nice to meet you.
Caitlin.
Nice to meet you too.
Hey, Caitlin.
Hi. Thank you.
You're welcome, honey. And it was great points that you made. And everybody out there to understand that the good thing about energy is that it is it is a flow. It is not something that we have to get stuck in. That there is hope, because energy, it's only energy. It's like it's liquid. It's not. It just goes. And we do have the power to harness it, create it, do different things with it. So it's really important. Caitlin, you brought up some great points. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I'll see you soon, right?
Yes.
So Marilyn,
yeah, go ahead.
May I say one thing?
Yeah,
very
sure.
quickly? I think one point one of the many points that Caitlin made that's just excellent is the fact that your behaviors are not you.
That's right.
And what happens to you is not you.
Right. Right. It's energy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's when a child is not behaving well, we should not say, we do get stuck at this because we do float from one place to another, but we should not say you're bad. It's your behavior is bad, right? It's not, you're not bad. you are not bad. We all have all the greatness in us, as well as this other part. But in order to access the greatness and the higher levels of of consciousness, we probably need to go through these things. Otherwise, we won't know what greatness is when we get there. We just have to go through the victim. We have to go through these other things to get there. But then you have, people like Susan out there and everybody that's on the chat who really cares about people to work with. So in finalizing, in ending, well, we can keep on going, can't we? What is your final words of wisdom in breaking free and to our audience, Susan?
Just that we have choices, that becoming aware of how our thinking impacts our feelings and our behaviors is key, and that we have choices. You don't always have to behave, have triggers affect you the same way. Once you become aware, you can make choices and respond versus react.
Exactly. It is not etched in your stone to stay this way.
Right.
It is not. Susan has had her victim, and she will. I've had mine, and I'm sure I will. The idea is, can I catch it faster next time?
Right.
Can I get out of it quicker? Can I maybe next time not get into it at all? Maybe I'll get into the next time, but not the next time. It's a game. But the better we get at this game of life, the less we'll stay there and move forward, and the more we'll taste the win-win.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Susan.
Really, how do you want to invest your energy? It's do you want to invest it in ways that are productive or waste it?
Perfect. So tell everybody your website, or if they want to work with you, where they find you, and all that kind of good stuff.
Okay. My website is king-coaching.com, and you can reach me at susan@king-coaching.com. And Marilyn, I've enjoyed this tremendously. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you coming today and sharing this with everybody, and I know it's made a difference. And you have a beautiful way of sharing this kind of conversation, because it's you have to have the words. Talking about energy and talking about this kind of thing, you have to have been working in it to be able to talk about it so that the world can hear it, because you have to have the words to identify what it looks like, what it is, because we're just really starting to, energy obviously has been around forever, but we're really starting to really bring it up and talking about it in all areas. So I really appreciate you doing that. And we are here each and every Monday. My name is Marilyn Shannon. You can find me at marilyn@marilynshannon.com. I do coaching and a bunch of other things, workshops and facilitating and stuff. And I am in the process of writing a few books, one for men. Yay, because I love men, and I want men to understand some things. I want to really help men. So if you have any man in your life that has a really good story, send them in my direction. And Susan, love you, Susan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Marilyn. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're brilliant, and thank you for sharing. And everybody out there, thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCBVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Your Healthy Pet with Gisela DiCarlo. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.